Welcome to Time Capsule, where we explore life in the 21st century through the eyes of people just like you and me. I'm Monica.
And I'm Joerenz.
Today we have award-winning writer, director, actor, and producer Nathan DuConge. Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you.
Dope.
So, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, I'm a filmmaker, but I like to consider myself just a storyteller or a creative, kind of versatile in different mediums. I love game development. I used to do that, and I still kind of am pursuing that. And right now, I'm making music along with my movies. So, um, yeah, I guess what kind of sums up about me is I want to be a storyteller that just kind of explores and tells stories in my voice to the world in many different ways. So I like to experiment with that.
So, what inspired you to take on your profession?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It was like when I was a kid, I was really obsessed with Steven Spielberg and Jurassic Park. I used to read this like biography by him, like just about Jurassic Park obsessively. Like it was just every day I would check that out. Um, and I kind of got into stop motion and animation. And I started kind of telling these stories just with pictures because there was this like huge Lego set. I don't know if you guys remember it. It was like $100 Lego set called Lego Studios, and it had like this big green T-Rex. And it came with a stop motion camera, but I couldn't get that. I couldn't afford it. So instead, what I would do is I just take pictures of like whatever action figures I had, or if I did have Legos, I would just like make stories with that. And I just really loved the illusion of film. Like you could kind of escape reality for whatever length of time and live in a world and see people and their stories and living in this world. And it was just like a really miraculous thing to me. And I was just so arrested by that. And so I was just like, I want to be a movie director, but I thought that being a movie director meant you also had to be like in the movie too. Like I didn't know what it was really. I just was like, you make movies, you just, you do the whole thing. And that sort of kind of carried with me throughout my entire life. Like I never, even though I like would change professions of what I wanted to do, at one point I thought I was going to be a lawyer, just because I liked mock trial. At another point, I was like, I'm going to be a game developer, and like that's all I'm going to do. But then it wasn't until I graduated from high school was when I kind of came back to this idea of being a filmmaker. Because one of my friends was kind of like, "Hey, dude, you do this thing," and I was making films for fun. He was like, "You should consider it." And every now and then, when somebody tells you like you should consider it, sometimes it kind of clicks back and now I'm basically doing what I did, my whole life, except for college and when I was living in LA. But but now I'm going back to those roots. Now I'm actually making an entire movie, and it's been a whole journey. It's been a huge journey.
So, can you disclose what movie you're making, or is that under contract right now?
No, yeah, I could talk about it. It's solely independent. It's this surrealist film, and it follows a writer who returns home from an odyssey, and he kind of finds out that home is no longer the same. And it's almost like he slips into like this new dimension or parallel dimension because he meets all these kind of Alice in Wonderland like characters, and he's kind of like trying to navigate into the film industry, but things just don't go how he expects them to go at all, or at least in the way he would want them to go. Um, so, I kind of am interrogating the film industry, especially from my experiences of living in Los Angeles, how the film industry could possibly be in Atlanta, because that's where I'm based out of now. When I took on playing this character of the writer, it just was very like personal because I had experienced so much of what he went through. And I just said, well, I'm going to just exaggerate whatever that is. All these feelings of anger, frustration, and things like that. I kind of just took it into him and played that character. And then I decided to also play the villain character too. So it's very strange. It's a totally weird movie. I do not know if it will work, but I'm at least happy that I'm editing it right now and making it.
Wow, that sounds exciting. Is that movie The Rancor? I think I might have seen the
Yeah,
trailer for it.
yeah, yo, yeah. The trailer is like a little, it's a little piece of it, and I kind of wanted to just be like, okay, I want to show people like it's gonna be strange, but it's not. It doesn't show how strange it's gonna get. And I like just finished a rough cut of it, and I was like sending it out to people, and I just felt very vulnerable. There's all these stages of feeling extremely vulnerable with something like that. Um, and I'm glad that this is my first movie because it's kind of like, this is my, I guess, just statement about who I am or who I was. And I got to have fun with a lot of different people to kind of compile that story together. And it's this total like ensemble, crazy show.
Wow, that's really exciting.
Say, when do you think it's going to be released?
Oh yeah. Well, I want to release it over the summer. Um, that's the plan. I'm gonna have it done in April. Like I want to have at least the movie finished by then, and I kind of want to take that movie and try to sell it to some distributor or try to take it to a festival, something like that. But you know, that's the game with festivals, as y'all know. It's kind of like you never really know. It's up in the air. Okay, like if I get in, great. But I feel like I can at least sell the movie. So I'm also going to try to like bring it to the Atlanta art community, release it locally, and see what people think of it, and just kind of go from there.
Eh, So in the past, you've also entered other movies into contests and everything, and one that really got a lot of awards. I remember seeing from online was Dr. Friday, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. That film, that's my most recent film. I feel like, do y'all ever have those stages where you're making something and you look back on it and you're kind of like, well, this is who I was back then. Like it's a little bit weird. I guess it can happen with photographs and stuff like that. That's how I felt about Dr. Friday. I was kind of like, it's a piece that I'm proud of making. But one thing I really learned on Dr. Friday was that I was doing a lot of delegating. I was kind of trying to, you know, do what Hollywood, like pretty much how Hollywood makes movies, where they hire a big crew and a big team of people. And you have to have the best equipment and the best people. And then, you pitch a sizzle or teaser or whatever, and then it can make an entire movie with you. That's the illusion of it. That's what they tell you. That's how you can greenlight projects and stuff like that. And I was living right in LA, and I was like knocking on the doors and everything, saying, "Hey, I want to make this into a bigger, story." And I realized like there was just no point of that because they were always going to say, "Okay, good job, kid. Try again." And you can lose a crap ton of money with that kind of strategy. And you could spend years and years and years doing that. A lot of people do. Some people get lucky, but I was just like, I didn't want to do that. And the other thing I didn't want to do too was have a production company behind me, kind of breathing down my neck, asking me and interrogating, okay, well, why are you doing it this way? Because it's my first movie. Of course, they have no reason to trust somebody, who's just a writer director. I kind of realized at that point I needed to be a little more self-sufficient. And I needed to kind of like, okay, well, I also wanted to act too. So I was like, well, if I'm going to do that, then, I might as well just throw myself into a movie. But if it was a production company, they go, well, you'd have to audition for your own part. And it's like, I think you can save yourself a lot of time, energy, and money if you just kind of like go out and do it on your own. Instead of having to wait and knock on the doors and then hope that somebody comes by and says, yes, your movie might be pretty good. And you just never know.
So true. In today's day and age, you really got to be more of an entrepreneur to get anywhere now.
See, I feel like now people are very versatile in whatever it is that they're doing. And I feel like there's just kind of this, I don't know, our generation has a very like self-starter kind of mentality is what I've been seeing.
Yeah.
And, we don't really necessarily want to work for these big companies or corporations that are always going to be like telling us, okay, this is how things are and that's how they have to be.
All right. So with all the different career paths you sort of talked about, you said like a video game designer at one point. If you were pursuing a different path that wasn't being a writer, director, actor, producer, what would you be doing and why would you be doing it?
Oh yeah, yo, that question when I saw it, man, that hit me in the feels, man. I think I feel like, and this is going to be a really strange answer, probably. I feel like in an alternative lifestyle, I would want to be a philosopher, but like, that doesn't pay the bills, obviously. But it's really just like, I don't know, my recent interests and obsessions are philosophy. Philosophy is so interesting to me. It's like, and I mean, it's the same goes, I guess, with modern philosophy would be like music. If you really listen to like the lyrics that people are saying, I mean, unless it's like, they're talking about nothing, but like, whether it's lyrics or even if it's like just synths, so like orchestral music, like, you listen to Mozart and you can tell that's Mozart. Like, even though the dude is playing like the piano or something, you're like, whoa, like I know this sound. And that's really interesting to me. And philosophy is just like interesting to me how it's transformed over time. I read like Politics by Aristotle. What that dude is talking about hundreds and hundreds centuries ago, I don't know, maybe even 1,000. I forget. It's crazy how far that goes back. Ancient texts, and what they're talking about then is relative to, or is current to what our systems are made of now. That's what our systems are built upon. And it's like, while when I'm reading it, it's like, this may seem obvious or whatever. It's so interesting how that's how they perceive how things should be. That's how, that's the meaning of their life. And a lot of their philosophies are dated. And I love reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, because Malcolm X, at the very end of his book, was just like, the objective reader can take this with a grain of salt, see who I was, see that I changed my thinking. And he's like, when I die, that's what I want, is like people to learn from my experience. And that is ultimately what I want to do. And I feel like everything that I do just kind of goes right back to that. So if there's anything that I want to leave behind, it's just like, I can translate that through film. I can translate that through music. I can translate, like, this is ultimately my philosophy.
Wow, that is amazing.
Who's your favorite philosopher, like ancient and like current day philosopher?
Oh, that's a very good question. Well, as far as ancient philosophy, I really love Lao Tzu. I think that's how you pronounce his name, but Taoism.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that whenever I read it, and it's always interesting because I kind of have to go like back and really absorb it, because it's like, it's kind of a lot to think about. Even if he writes like a paragraph or something, and he'll be talking about like the mysteries of life or something like that. When I read that, it's kind of like, wow, I don't know. It's like it really applies to something that I was thinking about before. Maybe it was that day, or maybe it was even through a dream. And I always kind of go through these really like deep and vivid dreams, to the point where sometimes I even see people from those dreams the next day, which is always kind of strange to me. But when I read that text, it's like, I feel like he's transcending across time. I guess my current philosophers that I like would be Donald Glover. I don't know if he would be considered a straight up philosopher, but I really love just who he is, and who his persona is, and how creative he is with that. Like, when I watch his show Atlanta, really it speaks to me on a level that is like, it's like, it's a show about people at the end of the day, but it's also like, I can really relate to it because it's Black people in entertainment, and it's a very like, it's absurd in ways where he's like, okay, this is something that could be sad, but it's really funny, at the same time. It's like, and he'll talk about these kind of things where he's like, I can't really, he's like, I have a hard time kind of navigating through life because people are kind of labeling me and all this kind of stuff, you know, in entertainment and business and how your family wants to perceive, your family thinks you're rich, you know, all these kinds of things. But he's just like, you know, you have to kind of stay true to yourself in some type of way. You can't ever really like lose that trajectory. And he's always kind of doing something different, you know, to kind of like stick with his philosophy.
We're now in the segment we like to call past, present, and future. So how do you see yourself now compared to 5 years ago?
Oh yeah. 5 years ago, I wrote a journal entry. I started writing a journal, and I think the first thing that I said was that I was really mad at myself because you know I wasn't making any progress towards anything that I wanted to achieve. I just read a book by Robert Rodriguez called Rebel Without a Crew, and he had made it an entire feature film with $7,000, and it was a huge success. El Mariachi. Um, and I read that, and I was like, "This is amazing. It's beautiful." But then after I finished reading it, I was like, "I'm 23. Like, you know, 20. I was like 22 at the time, I think. Yeah. So it was like I was just like, I'm so close to that age, but at the same time, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm not even close. And I was really frustrated by that. I was discouraged. Um, and I kind of said in that entry though that maybe 5 years from now I might be able to be doing what I'm doing. But at that time I was very bitter and cynical about it. Like I was kind of like, I don't want to wait that long. But I'm glad I did. You know, it was kind of like a series of trials and error. And my thinking back then was also very different compared to my thinking now, which I'm glad because, you know, I'm glad I didn't kind of stay down this path of where I was like, well, I have to, and I just moved out to LA too. So I was having a tough time out there. Um, that first year is very rough. Like it was just beating me down. I was working a lot of hours. I wasn't really making anything either at the time. And so now it's kind of like I'm still broke, but I'm at least doing what I love, you know, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm sure 5 years ago I wouldn't have imagined that I'd be in this position right now, but I'm also certain though that 5 years ago I'd be kind of like, wow, I can't actually believe that I am making a whole feature film right now, which is something I've always wanted to do. So that was kind of like a next step forward for me.
So what about 5 years from now? How do you see yourself?
You know, I hope I'm at that point. I hope that I'm traveling the world. Um, that's kind of what I want to do in life is at least, because, you know, and this is going to sound dark, but I don't, I think that the average Black American man doesn't really have a very long lifespan. So every day for me matters extremely hard. So I always try to make the most out of every day. Um, so what I would like to do before I'm like, you know, 30 something or whatever, I would at least like to start going out into the world, really traveling. I've been to France and I've been to the Bahamas, I've been to Monte Carlo, but like that's kind of it. But I would like to visit places that I've never been before, explore different cultures, talk to different people, and just have new experiences. Because if you guys ever get a chance, and you know, I don't know if you guys have road tripped across America, but I would definitely recommend that. It's very beautiful. I was very glad to do that. That was kind of my like odyssey coming back home. I just said, I'm going to leave LA. And I just drove and I met all types of people. I had so many experiences. Some of them were kind of like, you know, I was driving right into danger. Like I saw, you know, a dude from the KKK. And I was like, you know, screw this. I'm going to walk in this small town anyways. But you know, it's like it's those kinds of experiences. I know the look on your face is telling all. But you know, it's like for me, I was at that point in my life, I was kind of like, well, look, I've got all my belongings in my car, and I want to experience America. I want to see America for what it is because I've never seen it. And I was just like, I deserve to be here. I deserve to walk free like a human being. You know, I tried to avoid some situations of danger, but others I was kind of just like, bring it on, which is crazy. So, you know, I don't know if I do that again, but when I travel the world, I'll certainly take some risks.
Definitely. So, what is one place that you'd like to go in the near future?
I would love to go to Egypt. That's like one of the main places I want to go to. Egypt and Japan, actually. Um, for two reasons. I mean, one, like I feel like when I went to France, there was so much stolen history that I saw from Egypt, and I was just really upset by that. So I was like, I need to go to Egypt and actually, you know, see it for what it is. And then Japan, because I love like anime, I love um, Japanese art and culture and stuff like that. So, you know, I was just like, I gotta visit, you know. But I also kind of want to learn a little bit of these languages before I go.
What would you say? What principles do you like to live your life by?
Yeah, I mean, the main principle I like to live my life by would be to give back as much as I can every day. Um, I'm a huge like I'm really adamant about that because I feel like, and this is what I really saw in LA. I mean, it was ridiculously difficult to talk to anyone in LA because it was so stringent upon commerce, and I feel like capitalism and commerce have kind of ruined relationships in a way. Um, and so I'm really adamant now about spreading knowledge and learning because I'm learning every day. That's the two key things, I guess, is to learn and to give back. So to learn and to give. And I've even started a mentorship program at my alma mater, University of Georgia. It's called the Black Media Mentorship Council. And what we do is we're a group of mentors and we all work in media, and we have mentees, and every month, you know, we try to do something for them. So we talk to them, we try to give them resources, facilitate discussions, um, connect them to whomever, you know. And I think in that kind of way, I mean, I wish like we could have some kind of financial backing to be able to help them with whatever projects or whatever, but that'll hopefully be something that happens later down the line. But for now, I always kind of think that there's ways of giving back, um, including interviews and stuff like that. You know, I think that that's important. And that's how we can ultimately progress.
Definitely. So, what are you grateful for?
Um, Well, I'm grateful for the support that I've had on as far as family support and friends, and I've even had mentors too. Um, and they've supported me through like thick and thin. They've also told me, you know, like whenever I'm doing a new project or something like that, they won't lie to me and say, you know, it's good job, and keep going. They'll be like, this is crap, we need to fix it. Like, you know, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's probably what I should be thinking of doing. But so, you know, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the honesty that's around me. You know, I'm also grateful for the fact that I'm back in Atlanta. I'm surrounded by different ideas now. You know, it's different than what it used to be, and it's grown a lot. Um, so yeah, it's just the fact that I'm even able to have opportunities today to be able to do what I'm doing. I'm extremely grateful for that, and that's why I try to maximize as much as I can every day to do everything that I'm doing.
All right, so now we've come to the question of the show that, well, that's where we get the title of our show from. If you were to leave something in a time capsule for people to dig up 100 years later, what would you put in there and why?
Oh yeah, I feel like a journal. I would leave behind my journal. Um, you know, I feel like, uh, and I want to see what you guys think of this. I feel like everybody should have something that they leave behind that can go down generations and generations and generations and generations. I think it has to be something more than something digital too. I think it should be something that's written. So if it's like a journal, a letter, kind of anything, because maybe somebody 200 years down the line in your family can read this letter and go, oh wow, that's like from my great 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 grandmother or grandfather. I mean, that stuff is really important. I mean, I don't know, I'd say every month I kind of learn a little bit more about my family's history, but I don't really know that much about my family's history. And I wish I had something to kind of go back and go, oh, that's what, someone in my family's, an ancestor of mine was like, something that's really personal. So I've considered, I have a journal. So I'm like, I've considered being like, okay, well, if I do have to write a will at some point or whatever, I always just leave it out, just in case. So then somebody can have that piece of me and be like, wow, that's exactly who that guy was in the evolution of that person. So, I mean, and when people leave behind autobiographies, my God, that's amazing. Like, I love the autobiography of Nelson Mandela. Like, it's just, there's so much you can get from an autobiography to see the inside of who that person really, really was. It's a timestamp in history. It's amazing how that works. And the objective reader can take something from that. I really believe that.
Absolutely. I couldn't have put it any better. And especially with like we were saying with autobiographies and people like Nelson Mandela, it's like taking a peek into in the life of that person. You can even embed some of those lessons in your own life. So when you have to write your autobiography one day, you can share that experience and your collection of not only your experiences, but all those other people that you've seen and the people that come before you. And it's almost like we're growing as a human race and as an individual.
Right. I mean, it's really, it's like, if we all kind of did that, if we all kind of contributed to that, I feel like this fight of tension, racism, all that kind of stuff, it could just get like a little bit lessened, each generation. The fact that this stuff is released, especially now that we do have the internet and stuff, it's like, we're able to kind of digitally connect to each other. I mean, I think like Twitter is, I'm not really anti-social media, but I've seen how Twitter is getting.
Yeah.
It's like, you see like a headline and that pisses people off, or that'll piss somebody off. And I've been one of them too, where I'm like, getting all upset. And it's like, but I didn't really think that through, and then I'm like, that was a dumb thing to say. And it's like, you're just kind of constantly in an endless argument with a troll or somebody like that. And it's like journals, books, all that kind of stuff, even if it's not fully thought out, it's at least like a nice timestamp to be like, okay, I can really absorb what that person and why that person was thinking that, why that person acted that way. That's evolution right there.
Was there anything interesting that you learned about your family history?
Yes, a guy named William Pajad. He's an artist, or he was an artist. Back in like the 60s, he was a family member of mine, and he moved to Los Angeles from New Orleans. I've got my dad is Creole, my mom is from Virginia, and my dad is like from New Orleans. So there's a whole bunch of like music history and art history that's centered in my family in New Orleans. I had some jazz musicians who were, in my family in New Orleans, but this guy in particular, he was an artist. Like he did watercolor paintings, and he did one of a swan that was like really beautiful. But like one thing that kind of transformed his thinking was like he met a Japanese artist, and the guy had like all these different just styles of paintings. Like he really was fascinated by the way that the Japanese did art. And I've taken like recent interest in like how the Japanese do art too, especially like photography, street photography and stuff like that. It's really kind of interesting, like how like there's certain things that are overexposed, certain things that are underexposed, but it's like you get a perspective. It's a very unique style. And I think one of the things that I've noticed in that guy's art, as well as just like any of my family who have been in the arts, they just have such a powerful voice. It's like a really like it's a humongous like effect that you get, and I'm like, wow, that's what I've always kind of wanted to do, and I didn't kind of realize like how your voice and storytelling, how that really could be effective or how that could work, because I watch a lot of these contemporary movies and I'm always bored by them and I wonder why. And I'm like, I just really don't know who's the storyteller behind this. Is it the company, or is it like, the filmmaker or the filmmakers behind them? And we can get in a debate about Marvel or DC and stuff like that. I like some of those movies, but I just think a lot of them are kind of like, it seems like a company kind of thing, and I feel like superheroes are taking things in a really weird direction. So I really appreciate art a lot more now, because that's always like somebody like just singularly screaming and whatever, through their paintings and the color choices that they use, and the way that they color it, and what subject they do. It's really remarkable.
So, Nathan, is there anything else you'd like to add or to tell our viewers?
Yeah, I would say, if anyone wants to be a filmmaker, I mean, hit me up, like talk to me. I would love to see everybody's work, honestly. Film, art, anything, music, all that kind of stuff. Um, I can like leave my Instagram is at Nate Dog, Nate DAWG 900, and I didn't do 9,000. I wanted to do that, but but yeah. So Nate Dog 900. That's my Instagram, and yeah, I would just love to connect with some more people, some more artists, storytellers, filmmakers, everything.
Absolutely. And where can people find out more information about the Rancor if they want to go watch it?
Yeah, Instagram or my website. My website is acidpandaproductions.com. I'm going to be dropping a trailer relatively soon. And I've been working on that like crazy. So they'll at least get to see kind of another taste of it. And then I also kind of want to do an update. One thing I am doing with Rancor is I'm doing a making of booklet. So everybody who's donated to the campaign, they get the booklet automatically. But I kind of want to just release it as something digital that maybe it might be a fee. I'm not really sure yet, but it's something that I want to just provide as information of like the making of this movie. So then that next person out there who is like, yeah, because essentially I'm doing this movie because for one, I love the subject matter and I love doing it. But kind of the main thing is I want somebody out there in the future to see this and go, yeah, I can do that, but I can do that better. And that's kind of like that's to me like the endless conversation of filmmaking. And that's why I want to release the making of book, so it shows my entire process of exactly how I did, everything. So, and it just make it seem like it's not that hard, demystify it.
Well, Nathan, thanks so much for being a part of our time capsule. Thank you to our viewers for watching, and please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and also connect with Nathan. Tune in again next week to meet another amazing addition to our time capsule. All right, see you guys next time.
Hey.